All right, so now let's go ahead and adjust the lighting to our scene. It's typically best to discuss with your participants how to start with lighting, and that is globally first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the skybox to our scene. So the skybox can be found under the prefabs in environment, and you'll see skybox. Go ahead and drag and drop this into the scene. Make sure that you're adding it to the scene. You'll notice that we're getting this line. If it's circling around an object, that means that it's going to parent it to that object, and we don't want to do that. So we've dropped our skybox into the scene, and the skybox is basically just going to show the sky and the clouds and things like that. So if I hit F, you'll see that it's really, really large. Let's go ahead and zero this out, so that way it's around the center of the scene there. But the really cool thing is that it's going to work with our camera as a separate layer, and we've already got this set up. And it will also enlarge the mountains around the edge, so that way we can, or it'll make it appear that way. We have it set up with a secondary camera that's called our skybox camera. And with this, let's go ahead and expand our skybox here. Let's go to the skybox camera. And you'll notice that we have this skybox 3D. The camera that we want to set up for this is, in this case, going to be our main camera. Okay. Now, as we add a camera to our scene later, we'll change this over in just a little while. All right, so here we have the skybox in there, but what we really want to do is we want to change the overall material that's being used, because it is going to change the color that is being used in the scene. It's going to spill that onto our other objects. So let's go ahead and go to skybox, and actually let's type in skybox here, and you'll notice that as we start to type that in, it filters it out. And we have three different materials that we can use. We have level 1, level 102, and level 2. So I'm going to use one of these. You can choose whichever one you like, and we're going to drag and drop that into the sky just like so. Okay, so you're going to see how that changes. Now, we'll notice here that it's not really doing anything to our scene because we don't have any lighting turned on. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually say auto-generate lighting. Actually, let's turn off auto-generate, and let's just generate the lighting while we're doing this. So if we just generate the lighting, it's going to go through the process of baking that. Now, this is a great opportunity to talk about light baking and how that can really help with performance and all of that. Now, there's some key things that we'll need to remember about light baking, is that the assets that are going to utilize light baking must be set to static. So what we would need to do is set our assets in the scene to static. So by default, our terrain is already set to static. Okay. So if we go to inspector, you can see that that is set to static. But if we go to things like our cliff edge and our vegetation, you'll notice that those are not set to static. So I'm going to go ahead and select acid, and I'm going to go down to, let's say, all of this drop ship. I'm going to skip the skybox. Let's do monuments and all of these different assets that would be in our scene. Okay, now all the planes are already set up there. And I'm going to select all of these. And we're going to say static. Okay, yes, we're going to change the children. And during the lighting process, or the light baking process, you'll see down here at the bottom you have kind of a progress bar. And so sometimes this can take a little while. I'm going to go ahead and let this generate through. You should do that for your own projects. This might be a great opportunity to have your participants take a break while they're baking their lights. It shouldn't take too long to get through it, though. All right, so we finished up the light baking. The light baking does take quite a bit of time here. So with the project files, we're going to provide the light baking data there. And so this could be some area that you could allow the participants to bake the lighting on their own. It could take a while depending on the machine that's power that's being used by the participant as well. So another thing that we can talk about with light baking is also reflection probes. Now, reflection probes are going to allow us to see reflections in our reflective materials, okay, and it can really push the look of our scene a little bit further. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let's select. Let's see. Let's go to Game Object, and we're going to go to Lighting and Reflection Probe. Okay, we're going to add this in. And what we're going to do is we're going to edit the reflection probe, and we're just going to adjust this to where the box is surrounding our environment. Okay, and we're going to make sure that it's above our objects. Okay, just like so. All right, so now that we have that in the scene, one thing that you will need to do is go ahead and bake your light probes. Okay, and so whenever you're baking your lighting, you can actually say generate lighting, but hit the little arrow next to this and you can say bake reflection probes. So that way you're not baking all of those lights over again. Okay, now you'll be able to see a little bit of a difference in this. Okay, you can see your reflection probe right here, what it looks like. And then you also see the difference in the reflection probes, like in the metallic materials and all that. So if I select this, go to Inspector, and you can turn that on and off, and you can see how that's changing. So yeah, that's all ready to go there. And it's looking good. All right, so now that you can kind of talk about reflection probes and a little bit more about the concepts there. Now we're finished with the environment. So now we're ready to move into creating the player and setting all of that up.